All right, well, this last week or so, I've been noticing that they've been combining some of the storylines that I've been following for a while now. So this video, it may seem like a lot, but they usually seem to start a storyline and they don't always keep following through with it, especially like the Teen Wolf story. They didn't follow back through for months, but then they built it up again or whatever. So I've just noticed that a lot of these stories have all combined together. So in this video, I'm just going to do a little bit of a recap, just kind of shortly re-explaining a few things and how it all ties in and how some of these recent stories all go together with different storylines. And I haven't fully put together all of the pieces, but it's just interesting how it all seems to be coming together. So I mean, clear back in the death of Paul Walker, I noticed right around this time they started doing a Phil theme or a kill Phil type theme. There was also a duck type theme that went along with him. For one, because he's in the movie The Skulls with Joshua Jackson. You know, they were Skull and Bones members or whatever, or Skulls members in the movie, but they were basically portraying the Skull and Bones. Joshua Jackson is actually Charlie on the Mighty Ducks. That's what he's mostly known for. I mean, I guess Pacey on Dawson's Creek as well. So anyway, after Paul Walker died, James Avery also died. He's known as Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then during the Super Bowl, you had Philip Seymour Hoffman die when, what was it, Philip Phillips was singing the song Gone, Gone, Gone. They announced that Philip Seymour Hoffman had died. You also had right around that time, is mid-December 2013, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty was in the news a whole bunch because he hates gay people supposedly and whatnot. So there was just tons of Phil references, and then there was also Duck references. But as time went on, I realized that it most likely ties in to the city of Philadelphia. Interesting too, Will Smith was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was from West Philadelphia, but being the Fresh Prince, it could also tie in to Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband, or even Prince Charles. But Prince Philip just kind of fit with the Phil theme. He's even exactly 1,776 days older than Queen Elizabeth. Interesting, also born in the year 1921. I've talked about the number 21 and its association with Philadelphia, 2-1 being a day with 333 days left until the end of the year. Philadelphia turned 333 years old this year on October 27th. And interesting, 1776, and you think of Philadelphia, you think of the Declaration of Independence that was signed in Philadelphia by 56 signers, the first one being John Hancock, who died at the age of 56. And lots of 56 coded into significant events throughout history. Even the most recent big event was the Paris attacks. Paris attacks, if you add it up in gematria, adds up to 56. Paris, France adds up to 56. ISIS 56. Osama bin Laden 56. Just Saddam Hussein, Adolf Hitler, all add up to 56. Even Wilt Chamberlain, I forgot to mention. Wilt Chamberlain was a Philadelphia 76er. He also died in Bel Air, California. He went to the same high school that Will Smith attended, or Will Smith went to the same high school as him, Overbrook High School in Philadelphia. And he dies in Bel Air, California. So he's kind of like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. And there's more to it than that, but just want to, like I'm saying, I'm just recapping here. What's interesting, he is also a Harlem Globetrotter. And we just had a famous Harlem Globetrotter who died. And this is kind of a whole other topic, but this guy's name was Meadowlark Lemon. He even was born in Wilmington, North Carolina. Michael Jordan went to high school in Wilmington, North Carolina as well, which eventually I'll get back to that. But what's interesting, Meadowlark Lemon, and then you just had the guy from Motorhead died, Lemmy Kilmister, or however you say that. So it just makes me wonder if there's some type of like lemon theme or Lemmy or whatever. Uh, I even was watching a video on CNN the other day, and it said lemon up in the top here, and that's because one of the newscaster guys, his last name is even Lemon. But the other thing, for whatever the reason, when I think of Lemmy, all I can think of is Lemmy Winks from South Park, the gerbil that climbs up Mr. Slave's butt or whatever. And what's interesting about this is that so Lemmy Winks ends up killing WikiLinks, his brother, later on in an episode. But the only two people or two things or whatever that climb up Mr. Slave's butt and walk through his intestines and whatever and go through the maze or whatever is Lemmy Winks and Paris Hilton. And we've talked about the Hotels.com commercial, how it tied into Paris Hilton, and also the Paris attacks. Also, the lady who killed people on the sidewalk in Las Vegas at the Paris, whatever it was. And they've really been using South Park, or at least the creators of South Park material, like Team America had the terrorist attack in Paris in the very beginning, and then it flashes over to everyone has AIDS, and then Charlie Sheen comes out and says he has HIV. Made tons of videos on it, just interesting. Even Trey Parker, his name in Gematria adds up to 56. Also, that lady in Las Vegas driving down the sidewalk, that story ties into the Oklahoma State parade where the lady ran into people during the parade or whatever, which I'll get to eventually here. So who knows? I don't know how exactly it fits in yet, but just interesting. I wanted to point it out. But the Harlem Globetrotters too. So look who is the last honorary member of the Harlem Globetrotters here. Pope Francis. Interesting. Pope Francis is the 9th and the most recent honorary member of the Harlem Globetrotters. Pope Francis has been tied into all kinds of stuff here. And interesting, this happened on May 6th, 2015, or at least that's when this article was written. May 6th, 2015, like 56. And actually, it is from May 6th. The Globetrotters visited there for their 90th anniversary tour. Interesting down here, it mentions that the Harlem Globetrotters have showcased their iconic talents in 122 countries and territories on 6 continents. 122 countries. Interesting because in Gematria, Pope Francis adds up to 122 as well. So 5/6 was also exactly 139 days before Pope Francis visited the United States. 139, a very interesting number, because Freemasonry adds up to 139. It also ties into the Kanye West stuff that I've talked about. Kanye West seems to be coded to a lot of these big events this year, or within the last 5 years, even dealing with Taylor Swift and whatnot. The whole Taylor Swift thing that happened with Kanye West was on September 9th, kind of like 139. Even talked about in a video how Kanye West made the ISIS clothing line, even in 2012, had a shirt that said "Pray for Paris," which is kind of strange. But he played in Glastonbury this year. He sung the Queen song. Freddie Mercury was gay, had AIDS. It was the day after gay marriage was legalized. It all ties into Queen Elizabeth, but he did that on 6/27 this year, and 6/27 to the Paris attacks is a span of 139 days. So here, just wanted to prove it to you on this little calculator thing. So interesting, I just figured, why don't we look and see 139 days after the Paris attacks? Maybe it will be a significant day. It ends up being March 31st of 2016. It's a span of 139 days after it. But this is an interesting day because in other countries they would write it literally as 31-3, kind of like 313. And for one, Pope Francis became the Pope on 3/13 of 2013. So interesting enough. But in Gematria, if you write out 306 score and 6, like the mark of the beast, it also adds up to 313. And there's a lot more to it as well, but 313 is also the 65th prime number. Just sticks out because Philadelphia, the small way in gematria, also adds up to 65. And Philadelphia is even one of the churches in the book of Revelation. You know, interesting with the 306 score at 6. Also interesting, March 31st is also, well, next year will be the 91st day of the year. 91, a number I've noticed a lot with elimination and death. Also connected to the Skull and Bones, who I've mentioned were connected to every president who has been assassinated. The Skull and Bones have been associated with it. I mean, just to put in perspective, I guess, October 1st was the day that the Roseburg, Oregon shooting happened, a day with 91 days remaining until the end of the year. It was even Jimmy Carter's 91st birthday. World War II began on September 1st, 9/1. And interesting too, October 1st is 10-1, kind of like 101. Philadelphia, the big way, adds up to 101. A lot of people also, in my last video, were telling me about November 26th being a possible date for the beginning of World War III. Interesting, next year is a leap year. November 26th will be the 331st day of the year. Even says this day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln proclaims November 26th as National Thanksgiving Day. So interesting. Obama even pardoned the turkeys this year. He named them Honest and Abe. So just think about that for a second. Even this year, Thanksgiving happened to fall on November 26th. If you convert November 26th from Gregorian to Julian, it's the same as 11/13, the Paris attacks. And if you convert 11/13 from Gregorian to Julian, it's the same as Halloween of this year. I also just wanted to throw this in here really quick. So Kanye adds up to 56, just like Paris, France. ISIS, he's even married to Kim Kardashian, who adds up to 56. You know, this all ties back into Caitlyn or Bruce Jenner and whatnot. So, I mean, I've made previous videos on it. Just wanted to point it out really quick. And it also ties into Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln died at the age of 56 in the year 1865. He died in Washington, D.C. Well, sorry here. Washington, D.C., even in the month of April. April, the only month that adds up to 56. Okay, so hopefully you're still with me. I'm going to talk a little bit about a recent event. Then I'm going to go off on a little tangent again, and then I'm going to bring it all back eventually. Probably be 2 or 3 parts after this as well, so or probably 2 parts after this. But anyway, so the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles, just fired their coach Chip Kelly with 5 days before their last game, you know, in his 3rd season as the head coach. Interesting, the number 3 adds up to 56. His name, even with the K exception, adds up to 56. But what I want to point out is they fired him after coaching 47 games. His name, Chip Kelly, adds up to 47 and also 101. Philadelphia adds up to 101. Chip Kelly adds up to 101. He got fired after coaching 47 games. His name adds up to 47 and also 56, like I said. This website just does not do the K and the S exceptions. Also, check out the guy who is going to replace him, at least for the next game here. It is Pat Shurmur. Now, interesting because he was the former head coach of the Cleveland Browns, which I'll show you in a second. I just want to show you his name in gematria as well. His name adds up to 47 as well. So, this guy, even born in 1965, remember Philadelphia, the small way, adds up to 65. Even born exactly 100 years after Abraham Lincoln was shot, which ties back in. Also, Cleveland is in Ohio. I believe Ohio is the only state that adds up to 47. But there's one other interesting detail about this guy. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to put it in part 2. That way I can continue to talk about it without it skipping over or whatever. So see you in part 2.